What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division build video. We've just come off the back of the PTS and we got to test out the two brand new legendary missions, the Zoo and Tidal Basin. And even though they were legendary, we had legendaries before, they seemed to step the game up just that little bit, and they were a little bit more difficult. And that really made me revise all of my builds that I use for legendary. One being my explosive build. And over on Twitch, we sat down, we went through all the pieces of equipment we could possibly do to maximize it out, plus give ourselves some options for different scenarios as well. But just before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and hit the bell so you're notified when I upload more Division videos. Even better, come on over to Twitch. I could be live right now, and if you need a community Discord, there's never been a better time to join. You'll find the links down below in the description. And with all that said, let's get started. Okay, so we'll hop over to the range. I can show you some damage numbers. And this isn't like a gun firing exercise. The numbers you see in here are the numbers you actually get outside in the real world. It's much easier to test the skill build. So, here we go. So, actually, we'll start with the specialization. Let's go and take a look at the specialization and why we're running this. So even though this is a skill build, this is for explosive damage. So we're going to use demo, and the reason we're going to use demo is because we get 10% increased explosive damage. It affects explosive damage, grenades, skills and effects. Also, make sure you spec into assault rifle damage because we are going to be shooting an assault rifle as well, so we might as well take that extra damage. And of course, we get the artillery turret as well, which is what we're going to be using. So let's head back to the range, and I'll explain to you piece by piece why we used and some extra alternatives as well, because this build is really hard to put together. So here you go. So we talked about why we're using demo. The two guns that are pretty obvious to use will be the capacitor or the test subject. I prefer the capacitor, you get more damage out of it. This one's obviously max rolled. Shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5% skill damage. After 5 seconds you start to lose 1 per second, but it's really easy to keep up. Just keep shooting away and you're fine. For each yellow skill tier gains 7.5% weapon damage as well. So really nice. Like I said, you could go with the test subject and use perfectly in sync, but I've got it in there just because it does work. But really I stick with the capacitor all of the time. So again, that's up to you what you want to do. I would definitely hunt down a capacitor if you've not already got one. Alright, so let's move on to the hardest parts to get, and this is going to be the Grupo Sombra parts. Now, Grupo you would always think is a red gear set, a red brand set, sorry, but actually it's really good because it has 15% explosive damage on the 2-piece brand set bonus. And I'll explain why that's really good in a few moments. So we are using 2 pieces. Now what you've got to do, you've basically got to jump into Countdown or Summit or wherever it is you're farming your gear, and you've got to get it to drop with skill damage and skill haste. Obviously you can put a skill haste mod slot in, but that's the kicker because you've got to get these 2 attributes, then you can optimize them and we can roll the red core attribute up to skill tier. So pretty difficult to get, and I'll give you some alternatives in a minute. Again, I've gone with the gloves. This completes my 2-piece, and as you can see here, skill haste and skill damage. Now the Grupos can be absolutely anywhere. They could be on your knees, and they could be on your chest piece, but although you would have to be extremely lucky to get one with the chest piece, and I don't advise it. And I'll get to that in just a second as well. I would definitely go with getting him either on your mask, your hands or your knees. If you do get one on your mask and you do get your knees, it just means that your China Light piece needs to go in your hand slot. So you can definitely move things around if you really want. And we'll cover off the China Light. 1 piece, no brainer, 15% explosive damage, skill haste, skill damage. And with this one, obviously, it comes with the yellow core attribute. So if you get one of these wrong, you can just replace it. So this is an easier piece to farm. Then we'll take a look at the backpack. It's the named force multiplier, pretty easy to get a hold of nowadays. We're running 2-piece Hana-Yu for skill haste and skill damage from the brand set bonus. Skill damage, skill haste, and again you can see skill haste. And perfect combined arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. It seems really short, but just make sure with the turret you can just keep shooting at the same time anyway. So it's really nice having the huge amount of damage you can get from that. Then we'll look at the Hana-Yu chest piece that I'm running. And the reason I went with the Hana-Yu chest piece was because it already rolls a yellow. If you tried to get a Grupo, you would have to change the core attribute, which would limit your versatility that you can do with this chest piece. And I'll tell you why now. So because this rolls with a skill tier, what we have to do is get one that has skill haste and skill damage. Now this could be a China Light chest piece if you really wanted it to be, don't forget. And then you just get Hana-Yu here in the knees. Like I said, again, a bit of versatility on which way around you can get this. But it's all about being able to change the talent. Because at the moment I'm using kinetic momentum. I think it's probably the best talent to use. But you can, however, get more damage if you decide to run glass cannon. Now, I don't think the incoming damage is worth the trade-off because we are going to be shooting, so we are going to be taking incoming damage. And they might as well be blindfolded in legendaries. They can shoot you from absolutely anywhere. So I would definitely kind of go with the China Light or the Hana-Yu. Get the minor attributes right, and that way then you can change the talent to whatever you feel. If you're running easier content, by all means use a glass cannon piece, or switch to glass cannon. But what I would do is get either a China, like I said, or a Hana-Yu. Other options, I would definitely think about going with skilled. Skill kills have a 25% chance to reset the skill cooldowns. The mortar is pretty much a one-shot a lot of the time on reds. Well, it is on reds and on purples. It might take a couple of shots with your mortar with the yellows. But then that keeps on giving you constant seekers all of the time. They come back fairly quick anyway. But if you think, do you know what, I'm doing enough damage. I don't need the kinetic momentum damage. I could just use skilled. And especially if you're running heroic, you might as well just run skilled. You don't need the extra damage because it's how hard it actually hits. Let's get back in here. So that's the chest piece. Next, we're going to look at the holster. Now, if you've not got a waveform or you don't like the waveform, you could run something else. You could run a piece of Wyvern in here because Wyvern gives you 10% skill damage. So you would have a constant 10%. The thing with the waveform, it comes really well rolled. Skill tier, skill damage, skill haste, all the things that we want. But it generates a stack of 3% skill damage on one of my skills every second, and it caps at 10 stack, which is 30% damage. And then after another 10 seconds, it starts switching around. Now, if you look at the bottom here, you can see at the moment it's currently switching. So at the moment, I'm getting 30% extra on my Seeker Mines, and then it'll slowly tick over, and I'll start getting damage again back, and it'll lower in. But what you got to think about is at some point it's going to be 10 and 20, at another point it's going to be 15 and 15. And it just seems overall better to use the waveform over a constant 10% all the time. The 30% is glorious on your skills. So I would definitely recommend the waveform. But however, if you really want to go for a piece of Wyvern, you can go with a piece of Wyvern, skill haste, skill damage, and you know, you'll have a constant 10%. But not for me. I definitely think the waveform is the better of the options. Now we're going to use Seeker Mines. We're going to use the multi-cluster Seeker Mine. As you can see here, these are going to hit for 3.4 million. They actually hit better than that, but I'll show you that in just a moment as well. And then like I've been talking about all along, here is the star of the show, the artillery turret. It just hits absolutely insane. And the standard here, you can see is 3.6. And that's absolutely nothing compared to what this build can actually do. When it comes to mods in this thing, if you've got a max damage mod from the specialization, you all will have. Make sure you've got that on. I didn't have it on, silly me. Take some extra ammo, definitely worth taking the extra ammo. You're going to have the mod for that anyway, as you can see here from the specialization. And then at the end here, duration. Skill haste actually does nothing for this at all, really. It does bring it down a little bit, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it on skill haste. Duration does absolutely nothing as well anyway, so when we do run out, we'll get it back just that little bit quicker. Glad I checked that while I was doing this. And then here we're going to want skill haste, because we basically want these back as quick as possible. You can take damage if you want, it's up to you, but I really prefer haste just to get it back as quick as we want, and then an extra cluster mine. Or you can mix and match, 1 haste, 1 damage. It's totally up to you, but you can see here I'm not going to take a damage mod, so if you do, you'll see higher numbers with your build. And that is it. So let me show you how hard this bad boy hits. I've talked enough. Actually, I'm going to talk just a little bit more very quickly. So I did farm out some Fox's knee pads. If I've still got them, here they are. Because I wanted to go skill tier, damage to target out of cover, and skill damage. But damage to target out of cover only works with the oxidizer. It doesn't actually give you any bonus damage on any other skills. So these were absolutely useless. I spent ages farming them and they turned out to be absolutely useless. You could go the way of using the contractor's gloves if you really wanted to. The mortar turret does work that with the damage to armor, but I think it just kind of ruins the setup. You would have to kind of replace this out, and you're going to lose the 1-piece bonus here, and that's a lot of damage to be losing. So I don't think it's worth running the contractor's gloves. There's no real benefit there. Other pieces you could go for if you wanted an easier ride, you didn't want to farm the Grupo, you can actually get 3-piece Empress International. Because as you can see here, it gives you 10% skill damage and then 10% skill efficiency. Skill efficiency actually is a further 10% skill damage. So that's 20% skill damage just from the brand set. And then obviously you got skill haste and skill damage around here as well. So that works out really nice, but it is a drop in damage. And the reason it is a drop in damage is because we get 15% from the Grupo. So the Grupo actually works out 5% more damage. So yes, it is harder to farm, but you will get more damage out of it. So that's kind of the dream, is to get out the Grupo pieces. But 3-piece Empress International is definitely going to be no slouch and far, far easier to farm. Skill efficiency as well will give you some skill haste as well for getting your seeker mines back, which my build doesn't have. So there is that advantage as well. But I wanted to push for the extra damage and farm the Grupos and go that way instead. So there are your alternatives. Let's see what this bad boy does. So at the moment I'm going to do no buffs from the gun. You can see I've got kinetic momentum fully up. And if we send it over, now you're going to see all the bleed damage there as well. Almost 10k at the moment. Let's go back up to the top. Too much bleed, it seems. And there you go. Just a flat 6 million. Just over 6 million with one shot. And then if we throw out the seeker mine. And if any of them actually had armor, so that might be a little bit skew. So what we'll do, we'll just do it again to make sure. Also, check out the waveform doing its thing at the bottom as well. This isn't actually going to be a max shot because we haven't got the waveform damage. But the 3.9 million you saw there without the 30% bonus from the waveform. So let's kill some things and get our stacks up. You can see the stacks if you're unsure on the side of the gun on the right hand side at 29 at the moment. I'm waiting pretty respectable for a skill build. There's some 200k chest shots in there. So we're at max now. And then we'll throw the seeker mines. Make sure we're on max. And there they go. Obviously we're procking the perfect combined arms as well on the backpack. And 7.2 million there on the seekers. But look how many there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different bangs there. From the lowest being 4.7, but all the way up to pretty much 7. That's a lot of damage. Now we're on our turret now. Let's do that quickly. Oh, we just lost momentum a little bit, but we already saw before this just started switching, there was a 9.2 million in there. There it is, 9.2 millions across the board with an 8.9. Absolute insane damage. Let's just give it another second, and here we go. The stacks are building back now. Get these stacks up. Boom. And there we go. I think we hit our top there at 9.5 million. And if you get an overcharge from a teammate, it takes it over 10. You know, it's just absolutely insane. I'm all ready for the new legendary missions. And if you want to take a reliable building that just you can keep your distance, you don't have to get worried. The rest of the team can play up close and dangerous if they really want to. You can sit back and just blow things up. The Seeker Mines are great for pushing people out of cover as well. It just works really, really well. Here's another look at it just before we finish. But thank you to Twitch chat who sat with me and watched me put this build together. We came up with the best damage and all the best ideas. I think this is the best all-round version. Like I said, Glass Cannon will give you a bit more damage, but that incoming damage can be rough, especially on Legendary. And definitely consider Skilled if you're just running Heroic, because you'll have constant Seeker Mines as well. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and come over to Twitch and hit that follow button. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.